of moving Indian judiciary to the next level should be?
I'd like to get Sanjay K. Chadha, lawyer, Supreme Court, on this conversation as well. Sanjay K. Chadha, when we've seen that the response of Justice Verma as well, he has denied all of these allegations. He has stated that it's an outhouse, it's something that is accessible to all, it's not locked, and he did not see any presence of all the burnt cash that can be seen in the video that we have seen, that the video has a pile of burnt cash and the debris along with that. He has denied all of these charges. He has stated that it's an outhouse. What do you make out of his clarification that he has given? Okay, I'd like to pose this questions to Dhananjay. In terms, I'd like to pose this question to you as well. We've seen the clarification that he has given in terms of the fact that this room is accessible to his gardeners, to his staff, and it's not locked, and it's an outhouse. What do you make out of his clarification that he has given?
Well, well, the judge is, of course, denying the charge or the accusation against him. And so that makes this whole episode somewhat interesting. Interesting in the sense, now what exactly is the collegium doing? The collegium at this point of time is, trying to find out if the possession of disproportionate wealth, I mean, under the prevent, it would be an offense for anybody for a public servant to be in possession of wealth that he cannot satisfactorily explain. So right now, it's fair to say that should it be confronted to the judge, Justice Yashwant Verma, that so much of money was found in your possession, then the judge would not be in a position to explain how that money came about. So that would constitute, a case of corruption under the Prevention of Corruption Act, under Section 13, subsection 1, clause B. And, this was the kind of offense that the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Jayalalitha, was convicted on. And then at that point of time, the maximum punishment was about 7 years. And she was convicted for for a term of 4.5 years. The law was amended in 2018. So now the punishment is a maximum of 10 years. So what the collegium right now is doing is to find out if whether criminal proceedings should be initiated against the justice. Now, as to the aspect of whether the judge should be removed from office, the collegium certainly is not empowered under the Constitution to do that. Under the Constitution, a judge of the High Court or the Supreme Court could only be removed through the process of impeachment. So I think the denial by the judge certainly makes this case, somewhat interesting to speak of. But however, to come to the basics, the collegium, I think, should be applauded for what it has done to put up all of this information in the public domain so that the public is provided with the information. And very few people were expecting this level of detail that the collegium would release. And so the collegium has to be applauded to a great extent for what it has done. And there were widespread criticisms of the collegium and the manner of its functioning. Now, even those who have been steadfast people who've been criticizing the collegium will find it hard to do the same now, because the collegium, in fact, has done something that was slightly unexpected. They've released all of the information that they've known in the public domain now. So I think this is, of course, many people may not be able to process, like members of the public. Very often they talk about corruption within the judiciary. Lawyers, very often they talk of corruption within the judiciary. And now they have instance where no less than the collegium itself is turning out photographs of burned currency notes, So that, I think, is what the public will grasp. The public is unlikely to take the other nuance that the judge in question is denying that so much of money was his or was in his possession. So this case has a large number of ramifications going forward. And now also the Rajya Sabha, members of the Rajya Sabha certainly are going to get activated, and they certainly would want to initiate the process of impeachment. Because you should note that notwithstanding the possibility of initiation of a criminal proceedings, the jurisdiction of the parliament to impeach a judge for misconduct certainly will continue. So it remains to be seen how the members of the Rajya Sabha would deal with it. But I think some of the things that the judge has said, like, he did not have, the, this particular house was somewhat separated by a wall and all of that. Uh, when it comes to the criminal law, certainly some things would be relevant. Now, there are several headaches here so far as the judge is concerned. One is whether the judge would, continue to remain in office, notwithstanding that judicial work would not be assigned to him. Because even when a judicial work is not assigned to a judge will continue to be a judge for the purpose of the Constitution. He therefore will attract the power of the parliament to impeach him for proven misconduct. So now the judge has said that this house was separated by a wall, and therefore, essentially saying that he did not know what was happening within that house. Fact, however, remains that this is official residence. This is not a personal residence of the I mean, though the judge was residing in it, this would be an official residence and therefore guarded all the time. So with security cameras. So entry into the residence is nearly impossible except to individuals and persons authorized by the judge or otherwise, authorized by the persons entrusted with the maintenance of the house. So you go strictly by criminal law. I can give you one or two instances of how criminal law deals with possession. You can Let me give you examples of actual cases. You have a father and a son residing in a house, but then the police barge into the house, and what they do is to find in the presence of the father a forged degree certificate. The son never went to college, but yet this was a forged degree certificate. And what the police do is to charge the son on the ground that, look, you got a forged degree certificate for yourself, and we raided your house and you were not present. And what we found was such a certificate in the possession of your father. And the court had to acquit the son on the ground that possession here certainly was not with the son, it was with the father, and the father was not charged. So I'm saying this because this is how the criminal law works. The criminal law works on certain, protections. Now the judge appears to be invoking some of those things when he says that he was not aware of what was happening. He did not have exclusive access. And when you deal with the case law on possession, exclusive access becomes really very important. That is, you must also have the ability to prevent others from getting in. Now, that may in fact protect the judge in a criminal proceeding, but that certainly may not protect him in any effort to impeach him. And so it remains to be seen what happens now. Going forward, I think the collegium's disclosure for the photographs, I think, takes much of the debate out of this episode because 2 days ago, when we were debating this, in fact, also on your channel, we were somewhat, unsure of what really happened and who to trust, who not to trust. And also, there was a clarification coming from the Supreme Court itself that said this was rumor. Now, you had a collegium saying this was a rumor, but then you had a leading newspaper carrying it, carrying a big media report, and then you have lawyers who could be expected in the know, the Allahabad Bar Association, coming out with precise number of cash that was found. So we were not too sure of how exactly to respond. That was 2 days ago. But now that uncertainty is gone. And we all have to thank the Collegium for coming out with this information and also the committee that has been established to look into the facts here. I think that committee should be able to give its report very soon, maybe in a week or two. Some of the other aspects that I've read the release by the Supreme Court Collegium. It appears that there is a direction to the judge not to delete messages in the phone and all that. So it remains to be seen how that plays out because the committee that's just been established might want the judge to turn over the phone. Whether the judge would turn over the phone absent a criminal proceeding against him, because the whole purpose of the collegium's deliberations is to decide whether criminal proceedings should be initiated. Because outside of criminal proceedings, they don't really have, like I did say in the beginning, they don't have the power to remove the judge. The most power they have is to request the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court, who happens to be the master of the roster, to not entrust judicial work to the judge. So, you know, all of these things have happened so fast, and a lot of people might even have difficulty processing it. Also, because we've come to believe that corruption within the judiciary will almost always be a matter of talk, and rarely will we come across credible evidence that will be voluntarily released by the government bodies in that regard, and that assumption is now shattered. Like I said yesterday, you could have gone around the corridors of any high court and asked if there was a likelihood that the collegium will release pictures of the burned cash. Most lawyers would have said that's nearly impossible. They would have said, look, the Collegium is not going to turn over one of their own. I mean, that precisely would have been the response. And now a lot of people will have difficulty processing this information. And that is why I think this is extremely significant. This country has not seen anything of this nature. We've seen in the case of Justice V. Ramaswamy that even then photographs of, I think, did appear then at that point of time about, I mean, that case was really very different. That was a case where a judge, in fact, had, directed that a residence be furnished at a cost over and above what was approved. And the public, that is a charge that may not resonate too well with the public. But then I think photographs then were also released. So that is a very different episode from what we are seeing now, because a lot of people would be shocked and would remember for a very long time when they see piles of cash, some of which is burnt. They are going to remember that. You simply can't take that out of their minds because that's something that's very personal. A lot of people, the
All right.
worship money.
I'd also like to get Sanjay Rana on this as well.